Hello, everyone. Okay, I'll be just waiting for a minute or two for everyone to join, and then we can get started with the session. Yes, Srinu Rama, hi. Sahil, hello. Ayush Kumar, okay, namaste. Ik- Hi, hi, hello, everybody. Saranya, Muhammad, Munna, okay, Ayush Kumar, yes, namaste. Okay, guys, we'll just give just half a minute more waiting time is there. Then I'll go ahead with the session. Okay, till then, I guess I am audible as per your replies on the chat. But just again, once, just you can confirm me that if I am visible as well as I am clearly audible, there is no noise or disturbance for you. You can clearly listen to my voice. Uh, okay, so many hellos and highs. I'm really happy to see this interaction level of you guys. How are you, ma'am? Ravi. Okay, yes, Ravi, I'm very good. How are you? Anup Raj, where are you from? Okay. Okay, guys. So yeah, as you have confirmed me that I'm clearly audible and visible as well. We'll get started with the session. But before going ahead, this is Pragya here. I'm working in Greek Learning, and I'm working here as a researcher. So my past experience has all been into teaching, and I have been a professor all my life. So that's the reason I'm here, taking classes for you people live, where you can, ask your doubts live to me and on the topic I mean, obviously on the topic which I'm going to discuss. So the topic for today's session is your object-oriented programming in Java. And under this topic, I'm going to discuss all those basic concepts actually related to the three important pillars of object-oriented programming. And those three pillars are nothing but encapsulation, inheritance, and polymorphism. So the agenda for the session is going to be that I'm going to talk about encapsulation, different aspects of it, maybe some tips and tricks I can give you, some insights into what exactly is encapsulation, how is it implemented. Okay, then inheritance, then comes this polymorphism. So again, there is, in polymorphism, there are two types of polymorphism. What is the difference between them? Similarly, for inheritance, if I talk about, how exactly inheritance is implemented, where should you use this? And some small, programming tips and tricks related to Java programming is what I'll go discuss. So this is going to be the agenda for the session. So guys, stick to the session till the end because it might be right that some useful information can come up anytime throughout the discussion. So I'll get started with the session now. Okay, guys, I'm going through your chat, so it's not like I'm going to take your questions at the end. Definitely at the end, 5 minutes of time I'm going to spare for taking up your questions, where you can ask me whatever questions you feel comfortable to ask related to this topic. Okay, and like many of you mentioned in the chat that you want topics. So that I mean, someone asked like as Banti Srivastav, he has asked that how can we install BlueJ. So guys, today's session I can't tell you how to install BlueJ, right? But definitely these topics can be taken up in the upcoming sessions. So today your questions, if they are relevant to this topic, I'll be very happy answering. If not, then maybe in the coming sessions we can take up those topics. Okay. So let's get started. First is your encapsulation. Now, what is encapsulation? So, as the name itself makes it very clear, encapsulation meaning capsulating everything under one bundle. How the capsule looks like. Capsule, you see the word here if you break it. Capsule is nothing but a medicine, right? Which has like a no big medicine where inside all small granules will be there and it will be tightly packed under one wrapper kind of thing, right? That is your capsule. So same way in code also, when you capsule inside all the functionalities of the code and put it inside one wrapper, one package, that is your encapsulation. That is encapsulating all the functionalities, all the codings which you are writing for any project or any idea which you are implementing is nothing but encapsulation. For example, if I say, like, if this session, guys, anyway, is going to be helpful to people who are learning these concepts or have learned, like they are just at the beginner level and want to explore, even if you are at the experienced people and you want to explore few programming tips and tricks here, very basic ones, then I'm going to discuss all that. So talking about encapsulation, example of encapsulation can be what? If I say that class in Java is an example of encapsulation, what would be your answer? Yes or no? Package in Java is an example of encapsulation. Yes or no? Yeah, the answer is yes. Both of these are the example of encapsulation because classes binds everything, all the code. When you write a program for in Java, what do? You write all the codes inside class, your methods, the what call variables, blocks, everything you write it inside a class, right? So class does nothing but binds everything together. So that is your example of encapsulation. Similarly, package also does the same thing, includes all the codes inside itself. It's a folder kind of a thing. So package also is an example of encapsulation. Now, many a place you will see the definition for it, for encapsulation to be data hiding plus abstraction. Now, what is data hiding and what is abstraction? Isn't it the same thing or isn't it not similar to encapsulation? So yeah, data hiding plus abstraction together if you bring, that is nothing but encapsulation. Now, what is data hiding and what is abstraction? So data hiding is when any outside person meaning the person who is not having an access to the code which you have written for any project. So any outside person cannot access the methods or variables, basically variables. The any person, outside person cannot access the data members of a class, data members of the code, then that is called as your data hiding. And how can you achieve that? When you define the variables to be private. When you define any variable inside a class, suppose class A, okay, inside this class, private variable is there of type int A. Now this variable A cannot be accessed from outside this class, right? It means what? This is an example of data hiding. What is abstraction then? Abstraction is hiding the implementation details of the code is your abstraction. Hiding implementation detail meaning, I'll write an example here. Try to understand that. So class A, inside this class, I have written a method, void m1 method. I'm not giving any name to these methods, okay? Can it be any method name? Then this will be your implementation code. Excuse me. Yeah. And then suppose there is another method m2 and then there is some implementation code, okay? Now if I will create a GUI here, suppose, okay, I've created a GUI where at the backend this code is running. And for this GUI, here, there is a button, I mean, or you can say a button here which says call, okay? It's about calling a person. It's a GUI for doing a call or of connecting to a phone number. So if you click on this button call, at the backend, what is happening is this particular method M1 is being called. Then suppose there is another button here, maybe end call. And when you click on this end call, this particular method is being called. But now here, where is abstraction here? Abstraction is in this that when I'm clicking on this particular button, at the backend, whatever is happening, the implementation part is not shown to the user, right? It means abstract view is provided to the user. And that is nothing but abstraction, where the implementation details are hidden. Okay? Okay. So that is all about your encapsulation. That is your data hiding and abstraction. Okay. Now, what is advantages of encapsulation? Guys, I'll take your questions after each topic, okay? So I'll complete encapsulation, then I'll be taking up your questions. So advantages of encapsulation. Advantage of encapsulation is that basically two. One is your security of the code. How we are achieving security? By data hiding, by using a private data access specifier for your variables, which is not accessible from outside the class, right? So it is providing security. Second, enhancements are easy. Enhancements are easy. Or you can say maintainability is good, or it's maintainable. Meaning, see here, how we have achieve enhancements is easy or maintainability by abstraction. If I have to change some, later on, suppose after 5 years, you thought that, okay, let me change the logic of this particular method. It's already live, it's already being used by the users. Okay. What will you do? You have to just change the implementation code at the backend. You need not change the GUI, the front end. That is going to be the exact same, right? You will just change this implementation code and the change is implemented. Correct? So that's what I'm talking about, that with the help of encapsulation, these enhancements become easy. And enhancements become easy because of abstraction, which is actually a part of encapsulation. Now, what are the limitations? What could be the limitation of encapsulation? That the length of the code increases. Length of code increases. How does it increases? See here, if I have to write, if I don't have to include everything inside a class, then I should have just written the method here and this method here. That's it. Unnecessarily, I have to add one line for writing class, then these brackets. So 3 lines extra is added. Just for one is small example, right? But if you're writing a long code, then this will make a difference. So that is what it said. The length of code increases, but by little bit, like small percentage. That can be ignored because the benefits of encapsulations are more. So that's all about encapsulation here. Now, I'll talk about one more concept of encapsulation, that is your tightly encapsulated class. Now, what is that? See carefully here. If I say class A, inside this, I have a data member private int A. Okay. Then I have a method public void m1, and then implementation code for this, which I'm not writing it. This is just commented out, and then closing of the class. Is this class an example of tightly encapsulated class? First of all, what is tightly encapsulated class? So the class where all the variables are declared as private. Actually, it's a good programming practice to declare all your variables as private. So if the data member, that is your variables, all the variables are declared as private, it means that is a tightly encapsulated class. This is the question which is asked in interviews. Definitely, while practical implementation, that this concept doesn't make much sense. But yeah, it is asked while in the interviews. So tightly encapsulated classes, which has all variables as private. So is this an example of tightly encapsulated class? Yes, because there is only one variable. This is a method. Method can be public, but variable should be private, and it is declared as private. Now I'll ask a question from you all. Give me an answer to this. Class A, in this, okay, what I'll do is I'll be just extending this class itself. So class B extends class A. Okay, meaning it is inheriting the class A. And here it is defining a data member which is public int B. Now you tell me, is class B a tightly encapsulated class? Definitely not, because public no data member is declared to be public. But my question to you is that if I change this and this I make it as public and I change this to private, now you tell me, Is class B a tightly encapsulated class? Yes or no? Just yes and no would do. Is class B a tightly encapsulated class? Yes, no. Ravi said no. Logesh said yes. Okay. Purnima, tightly encapsulated class. Saranya, yes. Okay, Naveen said yes. Okay, Bunty also said no, it's not. Saranya, yes. Purnima, yes. Okay, it's good to see few names which were there in the last live session also. I'm really happy. Okay, so, okay, guys, so many replies are there. Good. I cannot read all the replies for sure. So I'll just tell you, as there is a mixed reply, yes or no, both. So you can cross check what was your thought here with the answer which I'm going to tell. So class B is not a tightly encapsulated class because I said for that class all the variables should be private access specified, right? So this class B is having private access specifier for variable B, right? But class B is also extending A, that is, it is inheriting all the properties of this to B. Okay, guys, if those who are not having the right now concept of inheritance, next topic I'm going to talk that only. So you can hold on this, note down this question somewhere and can answer it later on as well. But those who have little bit idea about inheritance, they can understand that class B extends A, meaning all the features of A is inherited by B. Features meaning all the data members and all the methods. That is all the variables and all the methods. So class B has now variable B also. It has in it variable A also. So both should be private, but it's not. A is public. That's why class B is not a tightly encapsulated class. Okay, so those who have given no as an answer, your answer is right. Okay, fine. So any question with respect to encapsulation? You can put up your question. Then I'll go to the next topic. Good here because in B also contain the variable int A. Yes, right. Correct answer. Yogesh said you teach methods of static and statics method. Okay, you want to know about the access specifiers, different access specifiers for methods. Okay, I'll take up this topic in the next session. Okay, Yogesh. So stay tuned to my sessions. Next session, I'll be talking about this for sure. Any questions? No? Okay, I'll move ahead to inheritance then. By Ravi, what is the meaning of binding? So you're talking about data binding. So in Java, with respect to Java, if you are talking about data binding, then that is adding a type, that is your data type, to every variable is called as your binding of data. Okay, that is specifying the type for every variable which you declare in Java is your type data binding, or type binding the data with a type. Can we make main class private? No. First of all, for any outer class in Java, we cannot have private access modifier. Okay. Private access modifier is only applicable for classes, but for inner classes. And main class is an outer class, so we cannot. Okay. How encapsulation is different from information hiding concept? Shivam Bharti. Encapsulation is different from information hiding. Okay, if information hiding, you refer to data hiding, then just now I said that encapsulation is not different from data hiding. Data hiding plus abstraction concept together is a concept of encapsulation. Okay, because you see, data hiding, we use abstract keyword, and that's what I'm talking about in tightly encapsulated class. Sorry, again, data hiding, we use private access specifier, private keyword, and that's what I'm talking in tightly encapsulated class as well, right? Can you explain relationship between access specifiers and encapsulation? Okay, so encapsulation and access specifiers doesn't have direct connection as such, but as I said, a class represents encapsulation in Java, right? Class represents encapsulation in Java, and there are various access specifiers you can use with class, right? For outer class, you can have only few selected access specifiers like final, uh, public, default, static, but the other ones like protected, private, these are applicable for inner classes, okay, and any other. So yeah, that's how these are related. But actually, guys, Shivam has asked, right? Shivam Bharti. So actually, the encap, no, okay, who was this? Harsha. So Harsha has asked the relationship between access specifiers and encapsulation. So there is no direct relation between these two. But yeah, as I said, classes and packages, they do have, not packages, but yeah, classes do have access specifiers with them, right? So in that way, yeah, it can be related little bit. Okay, I'll go to the next topic now. Then again, I'll take up your questions. So I'm going to talk about inheritance. So inheritance, what is it? A normal formal definition, if you talk about inheritance, any is a relationship between two different group of things, two different classes is your inheritance. But to understand conceptually what exactly it is, inheritance meaning, as the name itself can make you a little clear. Inherit. When we inherit the property of one class to other class, that whole idea is your inheritance. Normal example. Amitabh Bachchan is there, right? Abhishek Bachchan, Junior Big B is there. Big B is there, right? Junior Bachchan has acquired so many properties from Big B. Yes or no? And what are those? The name, the fame, little bit money also. Yes or no? Junior B has acquired all that from Big B. This is your inheritance concept. When you buy when you acquire few properties, and there's like Junior Bachchan has by default acquired all those properties. He had to, okay. But in coding, that is done by using some keyword or programmatically you have to make it happen. That is, if any class is defined here, suppose the class name here, I'm going to take some realistic example. So class department, okay. And in the department, there is a method, okay, void return type. Method is marks calculation. Okay, marks cal is marks calculation. And then there is some code. Now I have created another class here, and that class is student. Okay. Inside the student class also, I want the marks to be calculated. Department also has the calculated marks for all the sections and all the students. I'm talking about department like in the college. Okay. So department has the marks calculation method to calculate the marks of students of all the sections and across different years, first year, second year, third year, whatever. Now class student is created. Inside that class also, I want the functionality of calculation of marks for each student. What will I do if I don't know the concept of inheritance? I'll be just writing this method again. Void marks cal again. Yes or no? But if I am knowing the concept of inheritance, what will I do? That I will acquire all the property of department to student. And how that can be done? By using extends keyword. Okay. It looks little messy here. I'll just clean it up a little bit. So, okay, I'll close this class here. So class student extends department. Extends, okay, S is there, be careful with this. EXTENDS. So this is the keyword without changing the spelling has to be used to extend the property of this particular class, that is department, to the class student. Okay. So what will be the benefit with this? I don't have to create this method again here. This is not needed now. I can call this method itself here and do the work because I have acquired all the property of class department to class student. I think the concept is clear to you. What is inheritance and how we can implement that in Java programming? Now you can yourself understand what was the advantage of inheritance. If I was not using inheritance, then if I when I created class student, I had to create that method again. Yes or no? But here, when I'm extending that department class here, I'm using the concept of inheritance. I'm not writing that method again. So what is the advantage of inheritance? Reusability of code. Reusability of code. I'm reusing this particular method which is defined in department class under student class. There is no need of again and again writing the code, right? So this is your inheritance concept. Now, what is a relationship? So is a relationship like is should be between child class and parent class. So this class student which has acquired all the properties from class department, this is called as your this is called as your child class or subclass. Okay, and department is called as your parent class or superclass. Okay, or superclass. Getting it? So is a relationship says us that between child class and parent class there should be is a relationship. Now here you must be thinking student is a department, how come? No, right? Okay. But if I could say yeah, student belongs to department, yes or no? So I have taken this example because the method which I have defined here, I was going to use the same method here. Okay. But that says that there should be some kind of a relationship between the no, child class and parent class, and that relationship here is your is a relationship. Okay. In place of like class student, if I would have used a class, maybe like this is department, so if I would have used computer science class, and then inside this I would have had a void method marks calculate, then it made more sense, right? Computer science is the department. So point is here that the relationship between child class and parent class should be is a relationship. Okay, then you have to implement inheritance. Otherwise also, like if you feel that no some class is whatever is the name doesn't matter, but that class has some method which I have to reuse, you can use the concept of inheritance there. Programmatically this is what I'm saying you. But yeah, if conceptually you want to understand, then this is a relationship plays an important role there. Okay, so that is all about basics of inheritance. Now I'll come here to class creation and all that. So okay, so what? Okay, I was reading about your questions here, guys. I'll take up your questions. Just 3 to 4 minutes. Once I'll finish this topic, I'll come to your questions also. So class department. Okay, I will change this class here now. Okay, this class is suppose CS. Okay, computer science. So class department is there. There is a method here, cumulative marks, which is calculating the marks, suppose. Then there is a class CS, computer science. It is having a method marks. Okay. Now, this I want to use here the concept of inheritance. So what I'll do, I'll write here extends department, right? So I have written extends department. Clear? Now coming to the main method. In the main method, I am going to create an object. If I create an object of department class, department D1 equals to new department. Okay. If I call the method D1 dot cumulative marks, cumulative marks is the method. Okay. This is connected. Cumulative marks. And then I call the method D1 dot marks. Is there any error in the code? Will it be called properly? So I've created an object of department class and I'm calling the method of department class as well as CS class. This will be called properly, no error. But this will throw an error. It won't be called properly. It will throw a compile time error. Why? Because I'm having an object of department class and department class has not inherited all the properties of CS class. right? CS has extended all the properties of department. So the object of department class will not have an access to the CS class properties. Okay, I hope this is clear. Now suppose I created a object of CS class. Okay, C1 suppose equals to new CS. This is how we create an object. The class name, the object name equals to new operator and then constructor of the class. This is the constructor, right? Default constructor. New is a keyword which is used for allocating memory to this object. Correct? And why is this constructor used? For initializing the values of this particular object. Okay? Default value for any object will be null. Otherwise, whatever is the value assigned by this default constructor will be assigned to it. Now, if I've created a object here, C1, now with the help of C1, if I call the parent class method, that is C1 dot cumulative marks, and similarly, if I call C1 dot marks, will it throw any error? If yes, which line of code? Yes, C1 dot cumulative marks will throw no error. C1 dot marks will also throw no error because child class C1 is having access to its own class method as well as the parent class method. Okay. Now, here comes another question. Let me erase this for you, and then we can write two more aspects I'm going to tell you here with respect to this child method calling and parent class method calling. Okay. Now suppose I have used a reference of parent class, that is department D1 equals to new, and here I am using the constructor of child class. And then if I call D1 dot cumulative marks and I call D1 dot marks, any error is there or will it run fine? Or is there any error in this line, first line itself? No error. Both will be called properly. Shravani has answered no error. Others? Okay, I'll tell you. So there is no error here. Department D1 equals to new CS. This is correct. We can have a parent class reference object, but a constructor of child class can be used to initialize it. Okay, and I can call D1 dot cumulative marks. This is correct, but D1 dot marks will not be called because here the object is of parent class itself, parent class reference, that is department class reference. So the object is of department class, then how can you call the child class method? You cannot. Although I'm using constructor of child class to initialize it, but that doesn't mean that D1 becomes the object of child class. Getting it? It will be the object of parent class, that is department class only. That's why D1 dot marks will throw compile time error. Okay. Now, another question is, okay, not this. If I use CS class object C1 equals to new department, and if I call C1 dot cumulative marks, cumulative underscore marks, and similarly C1 dot marks. Yes. Now you tell me, is there any error in this? By default, cumulative underscore marks is public. Yes. Okay, when we don't specify any access specifier, by default, the access specifier in Java is default. Okay. So it's default. If I have not written anything, it means it is default. No error. So, okay. No, ma'am, no error. Okay. Guys, there is error in the first line itself. We cannot have a child class object with parent class constructor. Okay. A child class object with parent class constructor is not possible. So in this line itself, there is an error. It will throw a compile time error. So obviously, going ahead, this all cannot be possible. Okay. So four different combinations I told you here in inheritance. Please keep this in mind. We can have parent class reference, parent class constructor, child class reference, child class constructor, parent class reference, child class constructor. But again, with this, different methods can be called, some cannot be called. That all I told you. And but creation of child class reference object with parent class constructor is definitely not possible. Okay, so that you have to keep in mind. Now, let's go ahead talk about those two type of inheritance which Java doesn't support. That is important to know. The others, fine, you can implement. But multiple inheritance and cyclic inheritance are two types of inheritance which Java doesn't support. Now, what is multiple inheritance? Class A has certain methods here. If class B extends class A, that is single inheritance. If there is suppose another one more class, class C, which has its own code. So class B extends A comma C. This is called multiple inheritance. Extending or inheriting the properties of more than one class is your multiple inheritance. Java doesn't support multiple inheritance. Okay, with the help of classes, for sure it doesn't support. But if you want to implement multiple inheritance, you can implement with the help of interfaces. Interface is altogether a different topic in Java. So if you're using interface, you can extend, but class, no. Okay, so this is not possible. Now, what is cyclic inheritance? Class A is there, then class B, there is another class. Class A extends B, and class B extends A. That is, A is extending the features of B, and B is extending the features of A, or inheriting the features of A. This is called cyclic inheritance. Does this make any sense? Yes or no? No, right? Does it make any sense? Like A is inheriting properties of B, B is inheriting properties of A. Then define only one class, no, with all the methods which are there in A and B. Yes or no? So this actually this conceptually doesn't make much sense. So definitely cyclic inheritance is also not supported in Java. There's one more way of cyclic inheritance. I mean, you'll not get any error in that if you try and see. Class A extends, but in Java you will get error. It says that this is not possible type, some compile time error you will get. Class A extends A. This is also cyclic inheritance. This is also not supported in Java. Okay. So multiple inheritance and cyclic inheritance are two concepts which are not supported in Java programming. Now I'll go to the next topic, that is your polymorphism. But before that, any questions from inheritance? Why multiple inheritance is not supported? Okay. Why not supported? The question to this is that multiple inheritance is supported, but not with the help of classes. Okay. It is supported with the help of interface. Right? Now, why is it not supported with the help of classes? To reduce your the code complexity, basically that was the thought that was there by the developers who invented this whole thing of Java. That's why they just kept the multiple inheritance concept with inheritance, sorry, with the interface, not with classes. Ravi, ma'am, what is method overloading or method overriding? Okay, I'll be talking next that topic itself, Ravi, that is your polymorphism, which I'll be talking next. In that I'll cover these two topics. Any questions? Bunty, no. Okay. Bunty has asked, ma'am, please explain rule. A rule about what? Okay. Shivam Bharti, what would be the visibility level by default of data members? Okay, by default of data members, visibility is, as I said, default access specifier is there by default if you don't add any access specifier. And in default access specifier, what happens is that the variable or the method is accessible anywhere inside the same package. So the data members, the variables and methods can be accessed from the same class, from outside the class, uh, from any other class of the same package, from the child class, everywhere, but only from the same package. If it has to be accessed outside the package, then the access specifier default won't work. You have to change the access specifier. I hope I have answered your question. Yes, Shivam. Bharti, I've answered your question right. With the visibility level of default of data members, by default of data members is this only. How can we implement abstraction by EJB and RMI concepts? Okay, those are some advanced concepts which I'm not going to talk in this topic, but I'll take later on. Faisal, if it doesn't support, how can we use it? But multiple inheritance? So yeah, multiple inheritance, you can use it with the help of interface, not with the help of classes. You can implement multiple interfaces inside one interface, and then that interface you can implement inside a class. Done, right? Then multiple inheritance actually indirectly is possible. Okay, so I'll go to the next topic now, that is your polymorphism. So before studying the concepts of polymorphism, that is your overloading, method overriding and all that, one thing you have to know is what is method signature, because different programming languages refer different aspects of to method signature. So Java I'm talking about. Okay, in Java, the method signature, you can hold on your doubts and questions. After this topic, again, I'll take up your questions. So, Java, in Java, the method signature is referred to the name of the method, okay, and the type of parameters. Type of parameters. These two together is called as your method signature. So, I'll be using this term method signature in the next topic. So, it means I'm referring to the name of the method and the type of parameters. That is, suppose M1 is the name of method, and okay, this is your suppose method call. So public void m1 uh, parameters int a, int b. Okay, and then there is some implementation. If I tell what is the method signature for this method, it will be the name of the method m1 and the type of parameters, that is int and int. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about, method signatures. Guys, in Java the compiler uses method signature itself to resolve uh, or do not resolve, but to do any method call. Java uses this method signature only. Okay, or if there are multiple methods, then which method to call is decided by the compiler by using this method signatures only. That method will be called which is having a similar method signature of the calling method. Okay, now coming to polymorphism. What is polymorphism? Again, the name itself makes it very clear. Polymorph. Morph is a word which has a meaning, forms, and poly meaning many. So something which exists in multiple forms, in many forms, is your polymorphism. Now something meaning here in Java programming, I'm talking about methods, right? Methods only can exist in multiple forms. Multiple forms meaning I'm going to have same method signature also. It will be same method in two forms. Same method signature, that is two methods with different implementation code, is also the methods in different form. Or I'm having going to have suppose two methods with different parameter type, that is also two methods with different forms. Yes or no? So all these concepts are your under polymorphism, where methods exist in multiple forms. Okay, so polymorphism is anything which exists in multiple forms is your polymorphism. Now it covers two concepts basically, method overloading and method overriding. Okay. Guys, I'll be talking about few really interesting concepts where we will be very clear about why we say that method overloading is static polymorphism and method overriding is dynamic polymorphism. Why it is done at compile time, how we figure out in a code that okay, this is done at compile time and this is done at run time. So stay tuned to the session so that you can get this ideas clear for you, because it's very rare to be found in any book or anywhere. So method overloading, when I say, it is inside a same class. It can be different class also, but right now I'm talking same class. So inside the same class, suppose if I am having a method m1 with a parameter of integer type a, okay, another class I'm having method 2, sorry, another method I'm having m2, which is having a parameter of type float a, okay. This is having its implementations. Okay, so this suppose prints, okay, 1 minute. Suppose this prints, so system.out.println int, okay. And similarly, this also prints system.out.println float, okay. Now, method overloading is two methods with the same method name but different parameter type, okay. Two methods with the same method name but different parameter type are your overloaded methods, okay. Now, inside public static void main, okay, this I'm not writing it, you can assume that it is written string args. Here if I create an object of class A and if I call a1 dot m1 method m1, and from here if I pass a integer 3, then which method will be called? M1, which is having a parameter of int type, that is this particular method, and the output of this code will be int, right? It will print int. Similarly, if I call a1 dot m2 and if I pass float here, that is 3.5 f, okay, I'll write f here for float, otherwise it takes as double, okay. So I'll write it down again. So 3.5 f, meaning it is a float. So this will print what? It will call which method? Sorry, it should be same name. Guys, method overloading is two methods with the same name and different parameter type. So this would be m1 itself, right? M1 here and m1 here. This will be m1. Okay. So a1 dot m1, if I pass 3 here, it means which m1 should be called, which is having integer parameter. If I write a1 dot m1 3.5f, it means which method should be called, which is having float as a data type parameter, right? So this will print what? Float. How is this decided? Which one to call? This is decided by compiler. And that's why we say that method overloading is at runtime. If I would have, like this, you will understand more clearly. If I create a, okay, let's take one more example here. So class A, in this we have a method, okay, void m1. Guys, return type is not included in as a method signature in Java programming. In other programming languages, you'll find that. So m1, if I write here int a, okay, this is the method. Now here I write class B, which extends a, okay, and here I write void m1 int, not int, suppose float, uh, or okay, I'll write int itself, int a, okay. It has its own code implementation. Now under the public static void main method, Okay. If I create an object of class A, that is A1 equals to new A. And if I call A1 dot M1, which M1 method should be called? And I give integer value here. It will call class A method, that is this one. Meaning if I write, suppose it's system.out.println, I'm writing in short form, guys, SOP, okay, system.out.println this is. So if I write SOP here, system.out.println, and this prints, uh, you know, A method, okay, and this suppose prints system.out.println B method, okay. So A1.M1 2 if I call, it will print what? What will be the output of this? A method. If I create an object of class B, that is B1 equals to new B, and I call B1.M1 with 2, which method will it call? Which method will it call? B class method. That is, it will print B method. If I create an object of class A and I use a constructor of class B, then if I call A1.M1, then which class method will be called? A only, because it is using, because this A1 object belongs to which class is decided by the compiler at compile time itself. It has nothing to do with that at runtime it is being allocated which class constructor or which class is being used, right? So it will call class A method and it will print A method. This is a concept of method overloading. But you can see here you can clearly make out the difference that A1.M1 is called because A1 is an object of A class. This is decided by the compiler. And compiler only decides that which method should be called. So compiler knows that okay, A1 is a class, an object of class A. Let me call the method of class A. It has nothing to do with that at runtime. This part is done at the runtime, right? This side part. So at runtime, which object is no, how the object is being initialized, which class constructor is being used, nothing. So that's why this method overloading is called as compile time polymorphism also, or static polymorphism as well. If we go to method overriding, in method overriding, if I tell you the same example, that time you will see that there is a different method call because that is decided at the runtime by JVM. Compiler doesn't decide it. The JVM decides it that which method should be called. And that is done at the runtime. That's why method overriding is called as your dynamic polymorphism or runtime polymorphism. Let's go to method overriding now. Okay. So in method overriding, what happens and why is it used first of all? So method overriding is that if a method, like two methods with the same name, mean same method signature I could say, two methods with the same method signature but defined in two different classes. Okay, if you define two methods with same method signature in the same class, you will get compile time error. Okay, so two methods with different with the same method signature but in two different classes is called as your method overriding. Here you see m1 int a and int a. Okay, this will be float a. So integer a and float a. So this is method overloading, right? So there should be same method name and different parameter, int a and float a, different parameter type. Okay, then the whole concept remains the same. Okay, this will call b method, this will call, although it is 2 here, but it will call the b method itself, promoting it to float. Okay, now in method overriding, we have same method signature, but two different classes, not same class. Same class, if you have two methods with same method signature, you will get compile time error. So class A, in this I have defined a method void um, m1. The type here is suppose int itself, and this prints, so system.out.println, and this prints here suppose a method a. Okay, then there is another class b that extends a, and here it is void m1 int a. Okay, in method overriding I'm using same method signature. In method overloading here, it was supposed to be float here, guys. Okay, by mistake it was written int. Just pay attention to this, don't get confused. It will be different method, same method name but different method parameter type in overloading. In overriding everything should be same. And here suppose I have system.out.println, and here I have it prints b. Okay, yeah. Okay, I'll take your questions. Just 2 minutes, I'll be winding up this topic, then I'll take up your questions. Okay, so under public static void main, what will happen here? So string args and all that. This is clear to you, right? If I use a class reference object and a class constructor, class A method will be called B class constructor, and B class reference class B method will be called. But point here is to understand, if I've created an object of A1, that is A class, and new B class constructor, and if I call A1 dot M1, pass here 3, point here is which method will be called. In overloading, what was the case? Which method was called? The method which belonged to A class. In overriding, what will happen? Which method will be called? Class B method will be called. So it will print here B. Why? Because this part is decided by JVM here, that which method will be called of which class, and this is your method overriding concept which is done at runtime, and that's why it's also called as your dynamic polymorphism or runtime polymorphism. Okay, so this was the basic difference between method overloading and overriding. Guys, I had to talk so many other concepts related to overloading and overriding as well, which are very important here. But okay, we discussed about encapsulation, inheritance, polymorphism. Okay, so encapsulation was what? Data hiding plus abstraction. Inheritance is a relationship between child class and parent class, is your inheritance. Polymorphism, the methods which exist in multiple forms, is your polymorphism. Two ways method can exist in multiple forms. One is your method overriding, one is your method overloading. Method overriding, same method signature with in two different classes. Method overloading, two methods with same method name but different parameter type. May it be in the same class, may it be in two different classes, is called as a method overloading. Okay, but method overriding should always be in two different classes. So that was all. If I summarize the session, guys, I can take up your questions now, another 2-3 minutes. You must be, if you feel something I have not covered and you want to ask, get it clarified with the help of your question, you can put up your question in the chat box. I'm going to look at it for another 2-3 minutes and answer your questions. Sri Rama, okay, Shrinu Rama Chaudhary, method in B overriding the method in class A. Okay, you're talking about the example? Yeah, it's overriding the method in class A, correct. Ma'am, why Java take string argument in main method? Okay, so this question answer to this why thing is, it I mean the main method is structured in that way. Okay, that is the JVM is programmed in that way, that is fixed. Okay, you can't change that. In the last session, I have talked about this, right? That public static void main, void and main, if I write here, And string type data, this is args, right? It is an array. So array, you know why? Because at while no, executing the code, you can give multiple inputs. That's why it has to be an array. Okay. But string type, this is fixed. This is defined by the Java developers only. Okay, we can't change this also. It is string type. Okay, one more reason to this is that everything which we pass here can be converted to string format. That is, it can be converted to string and then display taken as an input. Okay. Now this args can be changed. We can have a1, b1, any name here, c1, but this type you cannot change. In place of array, we can have variable argument concept also, but this is fixed, defined by JVM itself. That the input parameter, I mean here to main should be string type only. Why we are not executing these programs? Okay, you want me to execute on IDE and show you? Okay, from next session I'll be doing that only. I will go to the IDE, and in place of just writing with pen, actually explanation with the pen is easy here. That's the reason. I will next time we can go to IDE also and try to execute and see that what exactly, no, is it the case which I am talking about. Okay, I hope I answered uh, Srinu Rama Chaudhary your question. Roadmap for placements. Okay, there will be some sessions come in the coming week where they'll be talking about, somebody else will talk about these placements. Not here array. Args is name. Okay, I didn't get your question, Luke. Args is a name. Yes, we can have any other name here. That is not fixed and defined in at the backend for JVM, in JVM, right? We can change that. Can you take up the next session on packages and interface? Purnima. Okay, next session you want on packages and interface. Okay, if most of you want the next session to be on package and interface, definitely I will take it up. Not next, then maybe some session, the next, or maybe the after that. But another two, three sessions, I'll talk about packages and interface. Okay, what will be the next topic? Akash, Shohan. Topics I'll take up from your questions only. Like someone asked to take interface and package, I'll discuss about interface and package itself. Okay, or I'll talk about exception handling in the coming sessions also. I'll talk about access specifiers in some of the sessions in Java. Okay, fine. File name, Ravi Banya, file name or class names are same only. Why? File name and class name in Java should be same for only one that file which where the main method is, because that no main method is called by the I mean by the JVM, right, from backend. And if it is similar to the file name, it will be understood by the compiler that where is the, or by the JVM, not compiler, that where is the main method. Otherwise, the how will the JVM search that where is your main method in which file? Like suppose you're writing very big project, you'll have somewhere your main method in some file. Multiple files will be there. Yes or no? Now, where is that main method? For that, the class which is having this main method is kept as same as the file name. And while executing, we provide that file name. So indirectly, we are telling the no, JVM that this is the class where the main method is. That's why it's same. SSM. Okay, you can write your full name. मैम कितने क्लास चली है? मैम मेरा फर्स्ट क्लास है. ओके अगर ये आपका फर्स्ट क्लास है तो आई मीन क्लासेस रिलेटेड नहीं है प्रीवियस क्लास से. एवरी क्लास इंडिपेंडेंट है, इट इज इंडिविजुअल क्लास. सो आई एम नॉट गोइंग टू रिलेट इट लाइक वट एवर आई डिस्कस इन द लास्ट क्लास. ओके आई विल कंटिन्यू दैट. मैं सेम नहीं कंटिन्यू करूंगी. मैं हर बारी नेक्स्ट नया टॉपिक और फ्रेश बात करेंगे. सो नीड नॉट वरी. ओके सो आई थिंक दैट्स इट गाइस. ओके आकाश चौहान, thank you if you like my teaching method. That's what the whole point of the sessions are, that I'll be as conceptual as possible, as basic as possible, to make you clear with the basic concepts. So yeah, thank you for the session, guys. I'll wind it up now. See you in the next sessions, in the next class. Thank you.